On the phone today, a gentleman who has been on KCIS back and forth a few times through the years. He's holding down the 3 o'clock hour weekday afternoons with his live questions to your questions about the Bible and theology. We are talking with none other than Hank Hanegraaff, the Bible Answer Man. Hi, Hank.
Hey, Mark. It's good to talk to you again.
Good to have you on the radio. We're all praying for you for your current battle with cancer, and I guess you were saying before we went on the air that there's a good chance it should go into remission. Is that the truth?
Yeah, the doctors are giving me a 80 to 90% chance of going into remission. I'm done with my chemotherapy for now, and so it's now just a matter of finding out where the tumors are and the way forward from here.
Okay, well, we will continue to pray for you. Also praying for the release of your new book called Muslim, What You Need to Know About the World's Fastest Growing Religion. Now, you've talking about this book for a while on the show. It comes out officially October 10th. I guess you can get it right now through your website. Tell us why you wrote the book Muslim.
Well, the subtitle really says it all. It's the world's fastest growing religion, soon to surpass Christianity as the largest religion in the world as well. And I wrote the book because this is a big subject that it's very difficult to wrap your arms around. So I've taken the issue of Islam and I've codified it around the acronym Muslim. So the M stands for Muhammad. You get a glimpse into the life and legacy of Israel's quintessential man. Unreliable revelations, I focus there on the Quran, its faulty ethics, its factual errors, its feigned eloquence. The S stands for Sharia. A lot of people think about Islam as a religion in the Western sanitized sense of the word, but in reality, it is not that. It is a socio-economic, political system that rides on the rails of Sharia. I've often said that Sharia is state is Sharia, meaning there's no separation of church and state. Therefore, very hard for Sharia advocates to live in democratic societies. The L stands for the Levant. Obviously, this is the epicenter of the world. So I talk about what the significance of the Levant is to Muslims, particularly in what they consider to be an end-of-the-world scenario. The I stands for the Islamic State as an end-time caliphate. The caliphate was abolished under Ataturk, the father of Turkey, in 1924, but it has come back with a vengeance. I talk about that. And then the last M stands for major Muslim misapprehensions. And what I do there is I use the idea of contrast being the mother of clarity. So I contrast Islam with Christianity. So if you want to know if a stick is crooked, you lay a straight stick next to it, and then you see its crookedness by comparison.
Well, I know Ravi Zacharias says he kind of disputes this idea of it being the world's fastest growing religion. He says it's the fastest enforced growing religion, and that is so key to Islam, is this militant aspect. Why so much why so much aggression in Islam?
Well, Ravi's right. I had lunch with him in Singapore not long ago, and he's absolutely right in what he's saying. It's a religion that grows by force, in that is written into the DNA of Islam. So when you look at Islam as a religion, they divide the world into the house of all Islam, or Dar al-Islam, or the house of war, Dar al-Harb, meaning that if you're not in the house of Islam already, you are in the house of war. You are to be subjugated by Islam. And if you look at the advance of Islam over 14 centuries, you will note that it has always advanced by the sword, in contrast to Christianity, which has always advanced by the word. So Jesus Christ told us that if you live by the sword, you're going to die by the sword. And even in the Garden of Gethsemane, when someone tried to use the sword, Peter cut off the ear of a soldier Jesus said, put your sword away. So the gospel advances by word. But what was taken by the word, certainly in the first 6 centuries of Christian history, was then retaken by the sword with the advent of Islam, and that has continued on to the present. You not only, though, have what's going on with the sword, where today, for example, you're witnessing the mass genocide of Christians in the Middle East, which is squarely in the blind spot of the West. But you also have Islam growing demographically, and we see that in the EU nations. And countries that become Islamic demographically will become Islamic politically as well.
This difference between the Shiite and the Sunni, is that just a semantic difference, real differences there? They both believe in Sharia law, don't they? Or
well, there are 5 schools of Sharia law, 4 of them Sunni, one of them Shia, but yeah, they essentially adhere to the same thing. The differences between the two sprang originally out of who would succeed Muhammad. So it's rife with intrigue, and it has to do with the homicide of Muhammad. Was it a Jewish woman named Zainab, or was it 2 of Muhammad's wives colluding against him? That's ultimately where the distinction between Shia and Sunni comes from. And these are the 2 main branches make up the vast majority of Muslims around the world.
Yeah. Well, they do seem to fight each other a lot over this, but they are uniting against the West, it seems like. So much of the West has, in their minds, become very corrupt and immoral, and in some ways they're right, I'm sure, and so that's probably part of the appeal. But why do you think there's such a hatred, I think, really, of women comes out of Sharia law? They would say they respect women and it's a protection of women, but it really is a real subjugation of women.
Well, there's no question that it is a real subjugation of women. I mean, a woman is half the value of a man, according to Islamic law. A woman can be divorced by her husband with very, very little difficulty. It doesn't work vice versa. A man can beat a woman to bring her into submission. A man can marry more than one woman, up to 4 wives. So, yeah, I mean, there's a great disparity, inequity against women built into the very DNA of Sharia law.
Yeah, it's a real, it's a difficult one. It's growing fast. It is a threat. I've heard the term, not all Muslims are terrorists, but all terrorists are Muslim, usually. And so it's just really a difficult subject. You wrote this book, Muslim, coming out here soon. I think what I'm hoping that this book can be used by the Lord to really reach out to Muslims. So how can Muslim be a tool for Christians in sharing with their Muslim friends and neighbors?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think, Mark, at the end of the day, I've been teaching this as long as I've been on the radio and as long as I've been in ministry. I think it's one thing to curse the darkness. It's another to build a lighthouse in the midst of the gathering storm. And that means that you become so familiar with truth that when a counterfeit looms on the horizon, you know it instantaneously. And I do that in the book using the acronym doctrine codifying the essentials of the historic Christian faith. So without going through the whole acronym, let me just focus on one letter, the first letter, D, and doctrine stands for the deity of Jesus Christ. Well, Christians believe that Jesus Christ is the Son of God, the second person of the Trinity, that he is fully God, that all the fullness of Godhead dwelt in him in bodily form. Muslims, by contrast, believe that if you think Jesus is the Son of God, you have committed the unforgivable sin of shirk, S-H-I-R-K. So that makes all the difference in the world. Muslims do not believe that Jesus Christ was crucified. Christians say that this is the very heart of our faith. If Christ was not crucified, the just for the unjust, then there's no need whatsoever to talk about resurrection. So they tear the very heart out of the Christian faith, and Again, we need to be so familiar with the genuine that when the counterfeit looms on the horizon, we know it instantaneously.
Well, I know many Muslims are becoming Christians, though, so there's definitely, we know the gospel, that message of forgiveness and that we can be in relationship with God is so appealing. Talking to Hank Hanegraaff, his new book again, Muslim, What You Need to Know About the World's Fastest Growing Religion, available from your website. What is your website again, Hank?
Well, you can get it at equip.org. You can pre-order Amazon and at bookstores anywhere.
Amazon as well. So looking forward to this book. I know the Lord's going to use it as he has always used your teaching, your great teaching on the Bible Answer Man broadcast. Hank Hanegraaff, thank you for talking with us today.
It is my pleasure, Mark.